Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today I decided that I would kind of talk about the meta of the game. And by meta I mean the PvE meta. Screw the PvP meta, that's lame, no one cares about that. Today we're talking about the PvE meta and how I believe it's changing and all about that. But first, make sure to hit the subscribe button. As I said, I want to hit 4,000 by the end of the year. We're well on our way to doing that. Like, only 30% of you are subscribed, so if every one of you watching this just hit the subscribe button, we would hit it literally instantly. So, you could do that, or you could not. Whatever. Let's get into the video now that I've done enough rambling. Talking about the Wizard101 meta. Before talking about how it's changing, we need to establish exactly what the current meta is in the game, and that is a very, very min-maxy meta. What this means is that you will focus more on certain stats and completely ignore other stats in favor of those stats because they're just not as effective or they're not the build you're going for. Right now, I would say, even for more defensive schools, the ultimate focus is damage. In cases like my fire, for example, I have 166 damage right now and only 27 resist. My resist would honestly be even lower if it wasn't for the fact that my gear already gives some resist, right? If this gear didn't give resist, I probably would have 0 resist because I would focus purely on damage. My pet, for example, doesn't have any resistances at all. I mean, it's not exactly a quint damage pet, but it is a 4 damage pet, and the other stat it gives is crit. And I would say that that is the current meta for a lot of schools. The only schools that don't have that as the meta is probably something like maybe balance, ice, or life, who have more defensive sets, or people who are jading. Really, those are the two exceptions, and in those cases, those are still min-maxy because those gear sets are designed to have pure resist with very little damage. So ultimately, that's the current meta. What is Wizard101 changing the meta to be, and what are the implications of this? This is the main topic of today's video that I want to get on, and I kind of want to go over. So, about a year ago now, has it already been a year? Jeez, it's been a long time. KingsIsle added a new update that added an intersection to damage. Basically what it is that there's an intersection at 150 damage. What this means is that every damage point you get over 150 will be less and less effective up to the maximum of 200. To effectively get 200 damage, you would need to have an insane amount above 200. Like, you would have to have like 250 to 300 damage for it to get anywhere close to that 200 mark. And as you can tell, mine should be 175 damage, but it is currently 166. So that gives us a good idea about how strong the curve is. The curve is decently strong. The reason why they added this is because they want to limit your damage and show you that damage isn't everything in this game. The purpose of this especially was that they don't want enemies to just become stronger and stronger. The example I gave for this in like a video or two ago, imagine this, right? Right now we're at about 170% is probably the meta for the highest damage. Now imagine, say, 100 levels from now, it probably would be about 300, right? You need to realize that that means that if they do 300%, they need to make every enemy have higher health to reflect that. With the rate we're going, by the time we factor in the increased damage mixed with the fact that we want more difficulty in the enemy's health, by the time we reach that level, the average boss would probably have somewhere around 50,000 to 80,000 health. KingsIsle's trying to avoid this, and I can completely understand why. They're trying to make it so that enemies are still difficult without just feeling very tedious, and I completely understand it. They want to make it so that there's more layers to their game, more dynamics, and it's not just hit things until they die, and I completely understand where they're coming from. That shifts us into the new thing that I think that they're doing, and that's they're trying to change the meta. They're trying to make it so that instead of just purely focusing on stuff such as damage, as most people do, they're trying to show us that there is other stats that we should be focusing on. And the reason why they're doing that is because they want to remove min-maxing as the most prominent feature of this game. They want to make it so that there's more reasons to go for resist or health or, say, block as stats instead of just focusing purely on damage, because it adds more dynamics to the game and a bit more strategy, and it prevents the game from just feeling like, you know, just continue upgrading my damage, right? Like, games usually don't make it so that you purely min-max one stat. Yes, there's going to be a stat you're stronger at. I don't think that they're removing that from the game. They're just making it so that there's a reason to focus on other things, and you don't want to fully focus on one thing because that is harmful for you in the long run. Ultimately, what we've established is they're trying to go and make it so that the stats are more spread out and more diverse than simply just damage. But how are they doing this beyond the damage intersection? Because obviously the damage intersection is the first one. The second thing, and this is what I'd like to go over now, is the enemies in the future worlds. If you played Lemuria on the test realm, you already probably know this, but the enemies in Lemuria are a little bit powerful. Just a little bit powerful. As a fire, even when I was dueling, I noticed enemies did like 3,000 damage with their average hit. That's a little bit nutty. Like, they were doing a significant amount of damage to me as a fire, and I completely understand like, suddenly when I did the round table and Magnetic was talking about the fact that they want to make it so that resist and health are a little bit more focused on, suddenly everything fell into place. Lemuria and future worlds are trying to change the meta and shift it so that health and resist are more viable options compared to what they are currently. Right now, damage is the main focus on everyone's builds, and they want to shift away from that and make it so that yes, damage is still good, but there are other stats as well. Now that that's established, let me get into the final section of this video, and that's my thoughts on this changing meta, because I figured I would give my thoughts, vocalize them, obviously let people figure out if they agree with them, disagree with them, or what they think about them. Obviously have a discussion in the comments. I always love having a discussion in the comments. I personally think this is a really, really good thing for the game. I know this probably won't be the most popular opinion, and I know a lot of people don't like the damage cap, but I think that this ultimately is the best thing for the game overall. I'm not gonna say that I completely agree with the damage cap. I would say I think the damage cap's a bit too low and it feels a bit too much like you're shooting your character in the foot if they're focusing on damage. They're trying to subtly, ever so subtly, shift the gears, shift focuses on the game to make it feel more fresh, more thought out, a little bit more difficult, and a little bit less min-maxy. I think that Lemuria is doing this perfectly because it's shifting between the fact that every damage point you get right now is at diminishing gains. It means that the more damage you get, the less it's actually gonna show. Like, for example, if I got like 3 damage more right now, I probably would only go up 1 damage in total, which kind of blows, and it means that I don't want to focus on damage as much anymore. And I completely understand this is an intentional and subtle push in the direction of, okay, your damage is at a good point, let's focus on some other stats now. Let's maybe upgrade your resist a little bit. Let's maybe focus a bit more on your health, right? Stuff like that. And I completely understand exactly what they're trying to do with this update, and I do genuinely think it's a good idea, and I think it will push this game in the direction it needs to go. I think this game needs a new fresh combat. I think with the AI being smarter as they plan on doing, we're gonna definitely need to focus more on better builds, because I'll be completely honest, I don't think that this is gonna hold up. I know right now everyone's like, oh no, damage, no, my damage, why isn't it improving anymore? Ooh. And I think a year from now or 2 years from now, when they release New World, they start improving the AI of the enemies, you'll understand. And you'll be like, okay, maybe I should get some resist. Maybe I should get some more health. Because enemies are gonna be more difficult on average. And by difficult, I don't mean just plain old difficulty wise, they're going to be smarter. It's going to be a bit more of a challenge. It's going to require a bit more thinking and a bit more strategy, and I'm excited for when that day comes. So ultimately, I think that that's what today's video is on. Changing meta, my opinions on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like the changing meta? Do you dislike it? I think it's a good idea. Obviously, not everyone's going to think that, so I would like to know your opinions in the comments below. Do you think that the meta is going to hurt us rather than be helpful for the game? I'm interested. But again, make sure to like and subscribe. Go join my Discord server. We crossed 300 members, well on our way, a strong community, and go support me financially on Patreon if you wish. But that's it. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next video. Adios.